Why is it that we humans have to tell everything through stories and examples? It's our great creative power, isn't it?
I think about this a lot, the fact that we're storytelling creatures, because to our knowledge, we are the only animal that does this.
Yeah.
And obviously it was an attempt, I think, certainly in terms of myth and folklore, it's an attempt to explain the natural world, things people didn't understand. I am very interested in story, inevitably. I'm not just interested in writing stories, I'm interested in why we write stories.
Yes.
I'm even more fascinated by the fact that discrete cultures who'd never met create such similar archetypes and such similar creatures.
Yeah.
So we see the firebird, the phoenix, as I call it, but you see the creation of a firebird throughout different cultures.
Yes.
And what is that telling us about what it is to be human and what lives at the back of our minds, in our subconscious? You often see this in magical beasts, that very similar beasts have been imagined by, after all, peoples who are living among different real animals. We're talking about cultures across different continents, and that fascinates me because that's clearly telling us about ourselves.
And a perfect example is the dragon.
There you are.
All over the world. In China, famously, of course. And what else are there? Mermaids.
Mermaids is very interesting, isn't it? Because where did that myth come from? Even in Africa, these inland countries, of course, have great rivers.
Yeah.
There is a form of mermaid, the Jengu. So, again, this is something that has been created across these different cultures. Why were British sailors imagining fish-tailed women when people in Africa were imagining fish-tailed women? It's just extraordinary.
Do you think it's possible to invent a creature that has no basis in nature?
I think it would be exceptionally difficult.
Wouldn't it?
I created a creature in Fantastic Beasts, the original book, called a lepifold.
Yes, a nasty piece of work.
Now that is my worst nightmare. I really had gone for something that would scare the bejesus out of me. Although I was taking the idea from a cloak, when I stood back from what I'd invented, I thought, that's just a manta ray.
And a manta means a cloak, doesn't it?
There you go,
yes.
Exactly. So basically, I've invented a manta ray that doesn't need water.
And the niffler.
Well, I was going to say the niffler, exactly. So the niffler is a bit of a favourite of mine. It's a treasure seeker. It likes everything that glitters, so it can locate treasure for you. So for those who don't know, a niffler is a curious creature. I suppose it's a cross between a magpie in nature and a duck-billed platypus in appearance. And a mole, exactly. But they used a platypus to get the snout-like appearance in the movie, which I adored. I mean, they ran these things past me and I just loved it. It gave it such an endearing appearance, I think. So it's exceptionally difficult to invent something, and often nature got there far better, because you look at some of nature's extraordinary creations and you think, well, CGI will never match this.
You've created your own world that has its famous and knowable characters and creatures, which must give you enormous satisfaction, and you've done it by examining the real world and the world of the imagination that our ancestors had all the way back through earliest myths.
I was thinking about the creatures because we were going to sit down and talk about this, and I realised that half the books fold without those creatures. You know, they're so important. Hedwig, the owl, and then we move through the Thestrals and the dragons, and they're key plot points, and obviously thematically they work in terms of life and death and power and struggle and treasure. But I realised when I really focused on those creatures just how important they were, and that shows we have a deep need, I think, to be connected to the animal world.